Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are tackling something totally foundational, but we're going to strip away all that abstract computer science jargon. We're looking at the absolute building blocks of C#, variables and data types. Honestly, if you've ever been completely tripped up by a weird calculation error in your code, the way the source material visualizes memory is an absolute game changer. Let's get right into it.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the train locker metaphor, cover the rules of variable assignment, look at storing whole numbers, navigate the truncation trap, and wrap up with floating points and decimals.
Section 1. The train locker metaphor. What's really fascinating about how this is approached is just how physical programming actually is. A C# variable isn't just some abstract floating concept. It is literally a small box or a specific storage location carved out in your computer's actual memory. Imagine walking into a super busy train station and renting one of those metal storage lockers. You reserve the locker, you slap a name label right on the door, and boom, you now have a dedicated, physical place to stash your data, particularly numbers, for later use.
There's a brilliant contrast highlighted here that really shifts your perspective. Think about math class. When a mathematician writes n equals 1, they're just describing a state of equivalence, right? It just is. It's ethereal. But in C# writing, n equals 1 with a semicolon at the end, that is a physical command. It means walking up to that specific train locker, opening the door, clearing out whatever junk was already in there, and firmly shoving a 1 in its place.
Moving to Section 2. Rules of variable assignment. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that operators in C# are verbs, not just descriptors. That single equals symbol? That's the assignment operator. It physically takes the value on its right-hand side and actively stores it into the variable on the left. You're not stating a fact, you are telling the computer to do something.
To actually make this work, C# relies on 3 very strict procedural steps. Step 1, declare. That means reserving the locker and giving it a name. Step 2, initialize. This is where you assign it an initial value. And finally, step 3, you use it. C# is incredibly strict about this order. If you try to use a variable that hasn't been declared or initialized, the compiler is going to immediately flag it as illegal. No shortcuts allowed.
Section 3. Storing whole numbers.
Just like in a real train station, these memory lockers come in totally different sizes, and you have to pick the right one. For simple counting numbers, the standard int consumes 4 bytes of memory, which is a 32-bit space. That holds values from roughly -2 billion to +2 billion. But let's say you're tracking massive data, like, distances between planets in space. The long data type doubles your locker size to 8 bytes, or 64-bit, giving you a massive range.
All right, Section 4, the truncation trap.
Let's set up a bit of a high-stakes scenario. Imagine you're writing a simple program to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. You type out the standard math formula. You subtract 32, and then you multiply by 5/9. But you ask C# to calculate that fraction, 5 divided by 9, using the integer format we were just talking about. So what do you think actually happens?
0. You get an absolute 0, because integer lockers literally cannot hold fractions. 5 divided by 9 in integer math always yields a 0. And this completely ruins the output. Your program will multiply the rest of your entire temperature calculation by 0. 41 degrees Fahrenheit? Calculates to 0 Celsius. 100 degrees? 0 Celsius. It's a total disaster. This coding nightmare is known as integer truncation. It's the blunt lopping off of the fractional part of a number just to force it to fit into an integer locker. And crucially, we need to understand this is not the same thing as rounding. If you truncate a 1.9, it doesn't politely round up to a 2. The 0.9 is completely chopped off and thrown away, leaving just a 1. This proves exactly why integer types are just totally unacceptable for formulas that require fractions.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, Floating Points and Decimals.
To survive the truncation trap, we obviously need data types that can hold real numbers with non-zero fractional parts. C# offers floating point types to do exactly this. The float, which uses an f suffix, is your standard real number. But honestly, most of the time you'll want the double. It's a larger locker that packs an impressive 15 to 16 significant digits of precision. But here's the catch. Floating points have a weakness. They are highly vulnerable to rounding errors and limits to their accuracy. Sometimes they might spit out 12.50001 instead of exactly 12.5.
Enter the superhero data type, the decimal. The decimal type is specifically designed to give you exact values.
12.5 is exactly 12.5. It has 0 rounding errors and a staggeringly huge range of numbers. When you declare it, you use an M suffix, like 100M. So the C# compiler knows immediately, hey, do not treat this like a standard int or float. It perfectly solves both the truncation trap and floating point inaccuracy all at once.
But every superhero has a weakness, and giving these data types little personalities really helps us remember how to use them. The decimal's massive advantage is that perfect accuracy, which makes it the absolute gold standard for high-stakes applications like banking software. But its fatal flaw? It is incredibly slow. Computations using the decimal type are approximately 50 times slower than simple integers. Because of that massive overhead, you should literally never use them for basic flow control loops or rapid-fire complex math like calculating sines or exponents.
Okay, just as a quick palate cleanser to wrap things up, we've talked about massive train lockers and highly precise fractional lockers, but the absolute simplest locker of all is the bool. It simply stores a true or a false value. That's it. It is perfectly designed for managing basic yes or no states in your code without wasting any extra space.
And that brings us to the end of this explainer. You now understand the actual physical realities of these types, from the simple whole number integer to the computationally heavy decimal, all the way down to the binary bool. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. If every single variable you create physically stakes a claim on your computer's memory, how much space is your current code silently wasting right now? Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.